Have you ever wondered why some people can keep their homes always organized while you struggle daily against clutter? Today, I'm going to share with you 9 ancient principles that completely transformed my way of organizing not only my house, but also my mind. These aren't just common tidying tips. They're profound philosophies that have existed for centuries and have been perfected by masters of simplicity and harmony. What many people don't know is that there's a direct connection between an organized environment and a peaceful mind. By the end of this video, you'll have practical tools that could completely change your relationship with your objects and your space. And I'm going to reveal a secret that's rarely mentioned about how true organization begins long before you touch any object. So stay until the end, because the 5th principle especially completely changed my life, and I'm sure it will change yours too. Tip 1. The path of a place for everything. One of the most common causes of disorder in our homes is not having a specific location for each item we own. When there's no designated place, objects tend to spread out and end up occupying any available surface. This first principle teaches us that we must determine a single place for each object in our house. This doesn't just mean choosing a random location, but rather thinking carefully about where that item makes the most sense to be based on when and how you use it. For example, if you frequently use scissors in the kitchen to open packages, keep a pair of scissors in the kitchen instead of always having to go get them from another room. When we implement this principle, something interesting happens. Our brain begins to create a mental map of the location of each thing, which significantly reduces the stress of looking for lost objects. Did you know that an average person spends about 10 minutes per day looking for lost things? That equals more than 60 hours per year. Imagine what you could do with all that extra time. The deepest benefit of this principle is that when you know exactly where each thing is, your mind becomes more peaceful. You no longer need to try to remember where you stored a certain object or worry about finding it when you need it. And there's a simple joy in being able to instantly find what you need exactly when you need it. To start applying this principle, choose one room in your house and dedicate time to evaluate each object. Ask yourself where this item is most used, where it makes the most sense to store it, and then create a system that's intuitive, not just for you, but for everyone who lives in the house. Remember, the goal isn't to create a complex system, but one that's so natural it becomes automatic. Tip 2. The power of empty space. In our modern society, we're constantly bombarded with the message that more is better, more possessions, more furniture, more decoration. However, this second principle invites us to value empty space as much as we value the objects we own. Empty space isn't simply the absence of things, it's a vital element in itself. Think of a beautiful song. The silence between the notes is as important as the notes themselves. Similarly, empty space in your house allows important objects to breathe and stand out. When we fill every available centimetre with something, our eyes and our brain have nowhere to rest, creating a constant sensation of restlessness and discomfort. Have you ever entered an environment and immediately felt a sense of calm without knowing exactly why? Often it's because that environment respects the principle of empty space. In practice, this means resisting the impulse to fill all shelves, tables, and surfaces. Leave some areas completely free of objects. For example, keep at least 1/3 of each shelf empty. Keep half of your work table with nothing on top. This space isn't wasted. It's serving a very important purpose. It's providing visual and mental rest. A simple way to start implementing this principle is to choose a piece of furniture in your house, perhaps a bookshelf or cabinet, and remove 1/3 of the items that are there. You don't need to get rid of them if you don't want to. Just reorganize so there's more space between objects. Notice how this changes your perception of that furniture and the environment as a whole. Empty space also helps us appreciate more the objects we decide to keep. When an item has space around it, we can really see it and appreciate it in all its beauty and functionality, instead of it being just one more thing amid the confusion. Tip 3. The practice of material gratitude. We often treat the objects in our homes as something unimportant. We use them, leave them carelessly, and then forget about them. This third tip invites us to develop a different relationship with our material possessions, a relationship based on gratitude. Each object in your house is there to serve a purpose. Your chair supports your body, your pot cooks your food, your clothes protect you from the cold. When we begin to recognize the service these objects provide in our lives, we naturally begin to treat them with more respect and care. Think of your favorite pair of shoes. How would it be different if every time you took them off, you mentally thanked them for the comfort and protection they provided your body that day? And if instead of simply throwing the shoes in any corner, you carefully placed them in their designated spot? This simple act of recognition and gratitude completely transforms our relationship with objects. The practice of material gratitude also helps us discern which objects really deserve a place in our homes. When you hold an item and realize you feel no gratitude for it, that it serves no significant purpose in your life, that's a clear sign that perhaps it's time to say goodbye to it. Start this practice by choosing 5 objects you use daily and dedicate a moment to thank each one before storing them. Notice how this changes your perception of these items and how it affects the way you treat them. You'll realize that this practice of material gratitude naturally leads you to be more organized, because you won't want to simply throw something you're grateful for anywhere. Instead, you'll want to store it properly, protect it, and treat it with respect. Before continuing with the next tip, I want to ask for a moment of your time. If you're enjoying this content and want more videos about ancient principles that can transform your modern life, please subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive notifications. Your subscription helps me a lot to continue creating this content, and leave in the comments which region you're watching this video from. I love knowing that these ideas are reaching people from different places. Now let's continue with the next tips, which are some of my favorites. Tip 4. The complete cycle of tasks. One of the most common causes of disorganization in our homes is the habit of leaving tasks unfinished. We start preparing a meal but don't clean up completely afterward. Then we pick up a book to read but leave it on the sofa instead of returning it to the shelf. We open mail but leave the envelopes and papers scattered on the table. This 4th principle teaches us about the importance of completing the cycle of each task we start. Think of each activity as having a beginning, middle, and end. We often complete the middle, the part that directly benefits us, but ignore the end, which usually involves cleaning, storing, and restoring order. For example, the complete cycle of making a snack doesn't end when you finish eating. It ends when the ingredients have been put back in the refrigerator, the counter has been cleaned, the dishes have been washed or put in the dishwasher, and everything is as it was before you started. It seems laborious, but actually this principle saves a lot of time and energy in the long run. When you complete the cycle of each task, you avoid the gradual accumulation of small disorders that eventually turn into a big chaos that requires hours to resolve. This principle also has a profound mental benefit. Each complete cycle provides a sense of completion and accomplishment, instead of the constant feeling of having pending and unfinished tasks weighing on your mind. A practical way to implement this principle is to establish the full hands rule for yourself. This means that whenever you leave a room, you look around and pick up something that doesn't belong in that space to take it back to its correct place. Over time, this simple habit prevents the accumulation of objects out of place and maintains organization without additional effort. Tip 5. The practice of subtraction before addition. This fifth principle was what most impacted my personal life, and I'm sure it will transform yours too. Most of the time, when we face an organization problem, our first response is to add something. Buy more organizing boxes, install more shelves, acquire more furniture for storage. However, true wisdom lies in doing exactly the opposite. Subtract before adding. Before investing in storage solutions, ask yourself, what can I get rid of? Which objects are no longer serving a significant purpose in my life? What is taking up space without bringing real value? This practice invites us to look critically at our possessions and recognize that each object in our house demands something from us. It demands physical space, mental attention, time to clean, organize, and maintain. When we become aware of this invisible cost, we begin to be much more selective about what we allow in our homes. A practical way to apply this principle is to establish a one-in, one-out rule. For each new item you bring home, commit to getting rid of at least one existing item. This keeps the total volume of your belongings constant and forces you to continuously evaluate what really deserves to occupy the valuable space in your house. The deepest benefit of this principle is the freedom that comes with owning less. Less to clean, less to organize, less to fix, less to worry about. And most importantly, more space, both physical and mental, for the things that really matter in your life. Remember, true wealth isn't in having much, but in needing little. Tip 6. The harmony of the 5 elements. This sixth principle teaches us that a truly harmonious environment incorporates a balanced representation of the 5 fundamental elements of nature: water, fire, earth, wood, and metal. Each of these elements brings a different energy to the space, and when they're in balance, they create an environment that feels simultaneously energizing and tranquilizing. The water element is associated with the ability to flow, adapt, and emotion. It can be represented in your house through the literal presence of water, like a small aquarium or fountain, or symbolically through mirrors, glass, or shiny surfaces that reflect light, like water reflects. Colors in shades of blue and black also represent this element. The fire element brings energy, passion, and transformation. It can be incorporated through candles, warm lighting, or a fireplace. The colors red, orange, and strong purple also represent fire, as do triangular or pointed shapes. The earth element connects us with stability, nourishment, and welcoming. Ceramics, clay pots, crystals, and stones are excellent representations of this element. Colors like brown, yellow, and earthy tones also evoke this energy, as do square and flat shapes. The wood element is linked to growth, vitality, and expansion. Living plants are the most powerful way to bring this element into your house, but wooden furniture and objects also work. The colors green and turquoise represent this element, as do vertical rectangular shapes that remind us of trees growing toward the sky. Finally, the metal element brings precision, efficiency, and clarity. Metal objects, especially golden, silver, or bronze ones, represent this element. White and metallic colors also evoke it, as do circular shapes that remind us of coins or jewelry. To apply this principle, evaluate each environment in your house and identify which elements are present and which are missing. Then make small adjustments to bring more balance. A room with a lot of wood, like a wooden bed and dressers, might benefit from adding a water element, like a small mirror, or a metal element like a silver lamp. This balance not only creates a visually harmonious environment, but also subtly affects how we feel in the space. Tip 7. The flow and function method. This 7th principle invites us to organize our spaces not just to be beautiful, but to function perfectly for our daily needs. The flow and function method is based on careful observation of how you actually live and move in your house, instead of following arbitrary rules of decoration or organization. Start by observing your movement patterns. Where do you enter the house? What's the first place you go in the morning? How do you move from one room to another? These natural paths you travel daily are your flow lines, and ideally, they should be completely unobstructed and free of obstacles. If you constantly bump into a coffee table or need to go around an armchair to get to the kitchen, that's a sign that the flow is compromised. Next, observe the functions that each space in your house needs to fulfill. A hallway, for example, needs to be a place where you can easily take off shoes, hang coats and bags, and perhaps check your appearance before leaving. The organization of this space should therefore include a place to sit, hooks, or a coat rack, and possibly a mirror. The kitchen should be organized in functional zones: a preparation zone near the sink, a cooking zone near the stove, a storage zone for food, and so on. Utensils and ingredients should be stored near where they'll be used. A practical way to apply this principle is to follow the first drawer rule. Items you use most frequently should be in the most accessible drawers and shelves, while rarely used items can be in less convenient locations. For example, in the kitchen, utensils used daily should be in the first drawer you naturally reach when cooking, not on the other side of the room. The deepest benefit of this principle is that when your house is organized according to your natural flow and the functions you need it to fulfill, you spend much less energy on daily tasks. Your house works with you, not against you, and this frees up mental and physical energy for the things that really matter. Tip 8. The art of visible and invisible organization. This 8th principle teaches us about the delicate balance between what should be seen and what should be hidden in our house. In traditional philosophy, there's an understanding that some things gain value by being displayed, while others function better when they're out of sight. Invisible organization refers to the systems we keep hidden: the interior of closets and drawers, storage boxes under the bed, shelves behind closed doors. These spaces should be as organized as any visible area of your house, not because someone will see them, but because hidden disorder still affects your mind, even unconsciously. Every time you open a messy drawer, you experience a small moment of stress. In contrast, opening a perfectly organized drawer provides a small satisfaction that accumulates over time. Visible organization, on the other hand, refers to items we choose to display openly. Here, selectivity is crucial. Not everything deserves to be on display. Reserve this privilege for objects that are simultaneously functional and beautiful, or that have special meaning to you. A bookshelf doesn't need to be filled with books from floor to ceiling. Instead, it can contain some favorite books, along with empty spaces, and some meaningful objects that tell a story. The ideal balance between visible and invisible varies from person to person. Some prefer a more minimalist aesthetic, with few items in sight. Others feel more comfortable with more visible objects. There's no right or wrong, just what works best for your peace of mind. A practical tip for implementing this principle is to consider the visual and functional value of each item. Something can be very functional but visually unappealing, like cleaning products, or visually pleasing but rarely used, like a special decoration piece. Items with high functional value but low visual value should be stored invisibly. Items with high visual value but lower functional value can be displayed, but in moderation. And those rare items that are both beautiful and frequently used deserve a prominent place in your space. Tip 9. The ritual of constant renewal. This ninth and final principle reminds us that organization isn't a destination, but a continuous journey. Instead of seeing tidying as a monumental task you do once or twice a year, this principle invites us to incorporate small moments of organization into our daily routine, transforming them into meaningful rituals. The word ritual here is important. A ritual differs from a simple task because it's performed with presence and intention, not just to reach the final result, but valuing the process itself. For example, the simple act of making your bed in the morning can be transformed into a renewal ritual, a moment of creating order and beauty that sets the tone for the rest of the day. Similarly, the 5 minutes you dedicate before sleeping to put objects that are out of place back to their designated places can become a closing ritual that helps calm your mind for a peaceful night's sleep. Incorporating these small rituals into your routine eliminates the need for large, stressful reorganizations as order is maintained continuously. A practical way to apply this principle is to establish what we can call a reset ritual for each environment. For example, before leaving the kitchen after a meal, dedicate 2 minutes to a quick reset. Clean the surfaces, store the ingredients, make sure everything is in its place. Similarly, before leaving the office at the end of the day, organize your papers, arrange your desk, and prepare the space to receive you the next day. These rituals may seem small, but their cumulative impact is enormous. They not only keep your spaces organized with much less effort, but also create small moments of mindfulness throughout the day, moments when you're totally present with your environment and with your actions. And perhaps the deepest benefit of this principle is how it teaches us that true change doesn't come from big dramatic gestures, but from small, consistent actions performed with intention day after day. And so we reach the end of our journey through the 9 ancient principles of organization. I hope you've realized that these aren't just methods for keeping your house tidy, but true life philosophies that can transform your relationship with your belongings, your space, and ultimately with your own mind. We started talking about how each object deserves a specific place and ended understanding that true organization is a continuous path, not a final destination. Between these 2 points, we explored the power of empty space, the importance of gratitude for the objects that serve us, and how completing the cycle of our daily tasks can bring a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. We learned that we should subtract before adding, balance the 5 elements in our space, organize according to our natural flow, and find the delicate balance between what should be seen and what should be kept out of sight. What all these principles have in common is the recognition that our house is an extension of our mind. When we create external order, we naturally cultivate internal order. When our environment is harmonious and functional, our mind also finds harmony and clarity. Now it's your turn to put these principles into practice. You don't need to implement all of them at once. Start with the one that resonated most with you today. Maybe it's the practice of material gratitude or the flow and function method. Start small, be consistent, and observe how these ancient principles begin to transform not just your house, but your life as a whole. If this video was useful to you, please leave a comment below sharing which principle you're going to implement first. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to receive more videos like this. And remember, true organization isn't about perfection, but about creating an environment that nurtures your best version. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.